What other areas of life do you think will transform or even disappear?
When people talk about time, I usually say time as a concept doesn't really exist. What does exist is how much love fills the beliefs we hold, or whether we let go of those beliefs. When we let them go, they merge with similar ones, gain strength, and eventually start pushing back because we kick them out. That's the tendency we're in right now. If we look at it pragmatically, we're about to see some serious changes in the world. And no, it won't be gentle or pleasant or light. For one simple reason, the kind of information that lives by dead laws has no real interest in us as living beings. We're only useful temporarily while we feed it with our life energy. So if we begin moving toward love, anyone who's strongly attached to a fixed ideology, whether patriotic, religious, environmental, electric vehicle related, or technological, will be recycled energetically along with their worldview and perception. They'll be repurposed to maintain the energetic structures that are lifeless but still need fuel.
And what will take their place?
People in loving relationships, people who live and act from love, people who will support hydrogen engines, gravity-based engines, sustainable products like hemp, and the education of children in love, setting the right priorities. When ecological thinking and efficiency are encouraged, power will no longer belong to those who has contacts with somebody or rigid agendas, but to those with real human support around them.
Okay. Then why would we even stay here? If, as you said, we're only interesting to these systems for a short time, so we have a specific function? And when do we shift into a new quality of being?
We will carry a new function, one that interests other energetic structures. Like I said before, there's a division between those who are in control of energy and attention and those who are not. Everything depends on the tone, intensity, and purpose behind our attention. The ones who have ruled this world for a long time operated by the principle: the worse it is for us, the better it is for them, because they feed off dead knowledge. They struggle when we begin to feel, because they can no longer use us. Their egregore is built on information structures not feeling, and we shouldn't confuse pain, emotions, or inner tension with true feeling. All of that comes from a dead state. You can be kind from weakness, or you can be kind from strength. A woman might shrink herself, stay silent, live in fear, and that's like scorched earth. Or she might love freely, show tenderness, care, curiosity, aliveness, and courage. And that's a completely different state. Right now, energetic power is shifting to those who live by the principle: the better it is for us, the better it is for them. But those who still live by suffering, struggle, and the belief that only through hardship can good come, they'll be recycled energetically. Even if only a golden billion remain, or just 100, the new ones won't care. They'll still multiply them into billions. And they'll show that planet Earth can sustain 200 billion people and thrive, and the planet will feel great. Just like almost everything we're told in science and medicine today is false. For example, they say, if we hadn't invented ammonia, we'd all have died of hunger. Sure, all of us, right now, starving. As if God is that stupid, like if we don't leave seeds out for the birds, they'll all drop dead. And yet somehow, they're still flying just fine. What we're dealing with is linear thinking, imposed on us by dead egregores. Like if you wear a mask all the time, you won't get sick. But even if you don't get sick, your immune system won't work. And then they inject you with something full of heavy metals, a substance that hasn't been tested and is legally protected from being tested, and maybe you'll survive. If you're in love, you might. And if you're in deep love, they won't inject you at all. Because any virus is useful, just like anything else in this world is necessary, as long as it doesn't exceed a critical threshold. Iodine, iron, copper, they're all good for the body, but only if they exist in the amounts that the body actually needs.
Is there anything else you want to say on this? Because I'm pulling you one way, and you're going the other.
I already said, the trend is moving toward pleasure, creativity, family values, and the love between man and woman, a new level of being, and a new understanding of politics. Politics is seen as something led by those who made a deal with the devil, but in the future, it will be handled by those who live in love, and it will become one of the cleanest things. And the purest things will be family, love, sex, and raising children. On that foundation, a vast stream of knowledge will open up, appearing, it seems, from nowhere, because love will be present. That knowledge will shape new ways of interacting with other worlds. It always makes me smile. We live in an energy informational field where we read each other's thoughts and feel each other's moods, but when it comes to other worlds, we still think we need to use technology to communicate.
Like radio waves.
As if they were robots and they need to receive some kind of rigid radio signals from us.
But there were some experiments.
Meanwhile, these extraterrestrial beings could already communicate with us easily and calmly right now if we would simply harmonize the left and right hemispheres of our brain. But of course, the moment that happens, everyone labels you crazy. Oh, voices in your head, time for some pills, and just like that, you're almost normal.
At best, Napoleon, or at worst.
Ideally, if we're talking Napoleon, let it be the cake, not the guy who ruled France.
Okay, so if we try to summarize everything you said earlier, at first I asked you how this transformation would happen, how we would all change. You said that right now, our probable reality isn't looking great. Then you said some external influence might intervene in the course of things. And that means there's still a paradoxical chance to shift the flow of history.
It will all change. The only question is, will it change with a large number of people or with a drastically reduced few?
And I guess the timeline matters too.
The timeline might stretch out over 100 years, or it could all happen within 10. What matters is intensity and efficiency. That's all. But everything will always be measured by love. And yes, some people say that word is worn out, and it is. It no longer carries the depth it was meant to hold, but the principle of love is still there, quiet, clear. When everything is so harmonious that you're drinking a cup of coffee, and in that fraction of a second, the taste, the setting, your inner state, and the feeling that this coffee is being born for the first time on planet Earth, all of it merges, and that right there is love in everything.
Being here and now?
Only here and now. The moment we stop clinging to the past and projecting onto the future and start living in the present, the trend will shift and we'll begin operating by completely different principles of interaction. Right now, we have about 1,100 internal blocks. Even if we work seriously on ourselves, we might be able to change no more than 70. That leaves 1,030. And they will keep trying to destroy us. People ask, how will we know when we've transformed them all? The answer is very simple. When you're living forever and always young, that's when you've neutralized all 1,100 of them.
That's when we've approached the absolute?
Yes, or rather, the absolute has approached us because we're better than the absolute. We're manifested here in the physical world and we carry the same qualities the absolute has. That means a completely new physics, a completely new electromagnetic field, a completely new density of who we are. Because right now we are low density beings and the surrounding world is denser than we are. The ether which we draw from in fragments because we lack enough love to take more, that ether is much, much denser than we are.
These new qualities, states, and abilities of ours, will they come to us naturally? Or will they be achieved through things like genetics and medicine, where so much funding is being poured today?
That won't have any real effect. It'll only take us further from the truth. Because science always relies on the past, and at best it will keep collecting fragments, pieces that won't give the full result. In order for that to work, about 100,000 elements would have to come together in perfect harmony, in quantity, quality, and state, and that's physically, practically impossible, unless you activate intuition and direct knowing. That's clear knowing. Even clairvoyance, let's be honest, is mostly nonsense. And I say that as someone who has these abilities. What clairvoyance shows is the present moment, the person's current energetic law, which determines their future, based on how much love or lack of love they carry. What you see is a template, the lessons they're about to go through. And when you describe a likely outcome, it usually happens unless the person shifts into love. That's why astrology, for example, works based on belief systems. These systems are structured by parameters that are embedded deep in the subconscious, and that's where many people feed them from. But when you stop identifying with those beliefs, when you move into love, astrology no longer applies to you at all.
So today, aside from loving one another, what tools can people use, especially those going through this deep reset? Many of our people want to think constructively, but it's hard.
Forgiveness. Forgive, forgive, forgive. It's incredibly important to forgive. There's a lot of pain in our histories. Someone has to be the first to break that cycle. Someone has to start the inertia of kindness, the inertia of love. And when they share it with others, it begins to awaken their receptors for love, many of which have atrophied. But once reawakened, others begin to feel it too. It's like when someone walks into an office in a great mood, and pretty soon everyone's smiling because that person has a density, a kind of inner core, and doesn't depend on who's having a bad day or whose mother-in-law caused drama. People begin to tune into that state, and all that person is doing is simply staying with themselves, not trying to change anyone, just doing their own inner work. As Seraphim of Sarov said, acquire the spirit of peace, and thousands around you will be saved. So if you want to change the world, change yourself. That's our task. If even one couple on planet Earth starts living in wholeness, in love, we'll know it by one simple thing. The couple won't blame each other, get angry, or feel anxious. Not because they're suppressing themselves, but because they've risen above it. They're living not from their heads or belief systems, but from heart to heart.
The couple.
A man and a woman. And all belief systems will try to fight that kind of couple, because if even one man and one woman fall into love truly with direct contact from heart to heart, the proof will be no irritation, no resentment, no anger, no blame. Even if someone forgets something or steps on a foot or messes something up, the other will love them through it, lightly. And when that happens, dead knowledge runs out of tools. Because when those people start meeting others, when they think of someone, see someone, talk to someone, they'll pass that state on. Within a few days, others will begin to harmonize. Their man, their woman will appear, or their existing relationships will begin to shift, and that's how the world will begin to change.
But that's still a manual process, right? It's managed by choice?
It will begin that way, yes, manually. But soon it will flow on its own. Because, let's say it this way, those who are above us, the ones who are tired of all the dead information leading only to the world of the dead, they will do everything possible to support anyone who's at least lying in the direction of love, not even running toward it, just lying there, and they will create all the conditions needed for those men and women to get there.
Let's close with one last question. We've said that the world has become technocratic, digitized, economic, but people still have abilities. Sci-fi writers imagined all kinds of things. Telekinesis, levitation, teleportation. What will awaken first?
These abilities are simultaneous. They activate in everyone at once. There's no I can levitate but not teleport, or I can read minds but I can't think clearly. That's not how it works.
Wait, that last one sounds like you. You can read minds, but
as our son once said, do you know why thoughts don't come from people's heads? Why they have to come to them? Because people haven't learned how to think, speak, and act constructively. So God doesn't give them thoughts. Only when you stop speaking badly and start thinking well, then God allows thoughts to enter your head. That's what Robert told me. So what I'm saying is the first thing that will awaken in us is the ability to feel other people's potential, their capacity to love, their tendency toward love. That's the first sign, because what will begin to form is a constellation of people living in love. The more of them there are, the easier it will be to anchor this new wave of harmony. That's the most important thing. Even in Kung Fu Panda, when he said, that's the dragon warrior. And someone else said, him, that guy's a joke. But the vision, the recognition is there. The ability to see mastery in someone who looks like nothing, a bum, a nobody. And that will be the main trend for those who've come close to love. Then eventually, love will reach everyone, except those it's not meant for. Sounds mysterious, right? That's because there are extremely complex informational structures I call non-humans. They don't have the receptors needed to perceive love. And unfortunately, there are many of them, especially among the Chinese and Belarusians, too many. And it's because genetically, their family lines repeated the same patterns for too long without ever experiencing love. Only fear, and everything they did was driven by fear.
Wow, that's a tough one for the Chinese and Belarusians today. I guess if they marry each other, that's it, the end. I'm joking, of course. Let's believe in the best and wish everyone well.
Yes.
That's it for today.
Thank you for your attention. See you next time.